Welcome grade 8. In this video we're going to be stepping through some of the review exercise unit 7 questions. So if you were stuck on a particular question, hopefully this helps as you go through and figure out where you might have gone wrong or how to particularly step through these questions in coming up with some of the answers. So first of all, question number 1. 1A and 1B were asked to solve for the missing angle x in each of the particular questions. The first one, 1A, should hopefully be nice and easy. They're basically the exact same mirrored shape. And so because this is parallel, these are parallel. If this is 75 degrees, then this angle x also has to equal the same thing, 75 degrees. B is not as easy as we go through. And so we're given this shape here. We're told that these are parallel. We know that this is 45 degrees. We know that this is 110 degrees. And we have to figure out this angle x here. Now for this particular question, one of the easiest ways that I find to do this is actually to split and create a parallel line here as well. And if we create a parallel line here, and we think about this continuing and this continuing, really what we've created is some parallel lines, and we have this line that goes through and this line that goes through as well. So let's start with this line that goes through. If this is 45, okay, then that means that this interior part also has to be 45 degrees. If this is 110, then that means that here, this is 70, because 110 and 70 make 180 total. If this is 70, then this is 70 degrees as well. All I have left to do is bring these two angles together. The 70 degrees plus the 45 degrees gives us a total of 115 degrees for question B. Question 2 asks us, in each of the following figures, ABE is a straight line. Find the value of x and the value for y. Okay, so in this one here, we have a parallelogram again, but our line continues past. We know that this is x, this is 2x, and this is y. So in this particular example, the one thing that's nice is that because this is a parallelogram, we know that our x and our y actually have to be the same. If this is x and this is 2x, we know that the total sum of interior angles here is going to be 360. So 360 degrees has to equal x plus another x plus a 2x plus another 2x, all the four angles added together. 2 and 2 is 4, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 360 degrees equals 6x. Divide by 6. And we figure out that each interior angle here now must be 360 divided by 6, or 60 degrees. If this x is 60 degrees, then this y also has to be 60 degrees, as those angles equal each other in this parallelogram. So that's 2A. 2B is a parallelogram as well. Maybe a little bit more complex, and so we're given some information here. Let's see if I can finish it up. We're told that these cross. We are told that we need to figure out this x interior angle and this y interior angle. We know that this is 100, we know that this is 43, and we know that this is 38 degrees. Okay. So, a couple of bits of information. If this is 38, this is 38 degrees. If this is 38 and this is 43, then that means that this must be what's ever left from the 180. So 180 degrees minus 38 minus 43. And again, there's a couple of ways that you could actually solve this question. There's a couple of methods. This is just one way that I'm choosing to do it. So that would be 99. Whatever this is, y has to be the same. So y now equals 99 degrees. So that's what that tells us at least. Now we need to figure out the x value based on this particular question. And so for our x value, if this is 99 degrees, then that means that this angle here has to be 180 minus 99, which is going to be 81 degrees. So 81 degrees here. If this is 100 and this is 38, then 180 minus 100 minus 38 is going to be 180 minus 100 minus 38 would give us 42 degrees. So this is 42 degrees, this is 81. I now need that last little bit. So 180 degrees minus 81 degrees minus 42 degrees is going to give us that x value. So 180 minus 81 minus 42 leaves us with 57 degrees for our x. So different ways to get around. This is one method. You could have used different ways to get there, but this is one way that you could use the information that we have, as well as information about triangles in order to solve that particular question. Okay, let's move on to question 4. So yes, we skipped 3, but let's move on to question 4. I didn't have you do question 3. Question 4, we have what looks like an awful mess of different things. So we have a line going here, we have a line here, we have a line going up, we have a line here, and we also have a line coming through here as well. So let's see what we do know. We know that this is 50 degrees. We know that this is 65. We know that this is 20. And what we're asked to, we also know that this and this are parallel. We're asked to figure out what P, Q, R, and S are going to equal. So lots of bits of information here to solve. Let's start by maybe solving R. There's a number of things that we could try to solve first. Let's try to solve R first. We know this is 50, this is 65, so R just has to be what's left of that. 180 minus 50 minus 65 leaves us with 65 degrees for R. So R equals 65. That's the one I know so far. Now let's continue to plug away. Let's see what else we can solve here for this particular question. If this is parallel to this, and this is 50, then Q must be 50. They have to be equal because kind of the Z pattern. If this is 65, this is 50, and this is 20, then P has to just be what's left there. So 180 degrees, this is a straight line. 180 minus 65 minus 50 minus 20 is whatever's left for our value for P. So if I plug that in, 180 degrees minus the 65 degrees minus 50 minus 20 leaves me with 45 degrees for P. And then finally, we just have S left here, our final value to solve. To figure out our value for S, if we take this line and this line, whatever this angle is, S is going to be the same. So, because they're both opposite interior angles here. This is 20, this is 50. Add those together, and you get 70 degrees for S. So we had a little bit of information, but using that little bit of information and chipping away at the question, we were able to solve for what P, Q, R, and S, what those angles are going to equal using that particular triangle. All right, let's move on to 5 now. Question 5, we are also given a bit of an odd shape, and we're asked to figure out the measure of angle X, Y, and Z. So let's draw what we have so far for question 5. We have a straight line on the bottom. We have 2 lines coming up here as well as here that we are told are parallel. We also have, okay, this is maybe a bad drawing of this. We also have a line coming up here and a line coming up here, and we're told that these are also parallel lines. We're told that this is 150 degrees, that this is 70 degrees, and that we are asked to figure out angle X, angle Y, and angle Z. Okay, so X should be an easy one. This is 100 and, sorry, we're told that this is 70. So this is, and we're told that this is 150. So that gets a little bit trickier here. So we need to work through and figure out what we know. And we can start by trying to figure out our X. Now our X is a little bit tricky because of these bits of information here. The bits of information that we have in trying to solve for this particular question, because they overlap into X as well. We don't know how much they overlap into X. That's the tricky piece that we need to figure out in this particular question. And so there's a number of different ways that we could figure out this particular question as well in using some of these parallel line information. One of the things that we know is that 70 minus X plus 150 minus X equals 180. Okay, so now that we know, so basically this minus this plus this minus this, actually I have to still plus my X equals 180 degrees. Another way I could say that is I could just eliminate one of these. So I could say 150 minus X plus 70 equals 180. That's probably an easier, simpler way to put that. Let's start doing some rearranging here. So 150 plus 70 is 220 minus X equals 180. Okay, let's bring the 80 over to this side, the X over to this side. So 220 minus 180 equals X, or X equals 40 degrees. Now that I know that X is 40 degrees, I can use that information to solve a little bit more. So if X is 40, then that means that this angle, instead of being 150, is 150 minus the 40, or 110. If this is 110, then Z is also 110. If this is 70, then this whole thing is 70, then this little piece here is going to be 70 minus 40, which is 30 degrees. If this is 30, then this is 30. If this is 30 and this is 110, then 180 minus 110 minus 30 is going to be our Y. That's the whole triangle here put together. So 180 minus 110 is going to be 70. 70 minus 30 is 40. So that means that our Y value, which is left, is 40 degrees, which also makes sense because if if I have kind of a line here and a line here, and I have a line here, then Y and X are both interior angles in that Z pattern, and so they should be equal to one another. So again, lots of different figuring out as we step through, but as we piece things together, we're able to figure out what some of our missing angle values are going to be. Final question, question 6. Question 6, we have, again, 2 odd shapes. First, for A, we have a line on the bottom here. We have a line coming up. We have a line crossing over here and a line crossing down here. We know that this is 33 degrees. We know that this is 115. We know that this is 36. and we have to figure out x, and we have to figure out y. Okay, so first things first, if this is 115, then we can figure out this angle pretty easily, because 180 minus 115 is going to be that other interior angle, which is going to be 65 degrees. 65 degrees is this interior angle. To figure out this x, that would be 180 minus 65 minus 33. So 180 minus 65 minus 33 is 82 degrees, and that's our x value. So x equals 82 degrees. Now to figure out y, let's go a little further. If this is 115, then this is also 65. Okay. If this is 115, if x is 82, then this side here is going to be 180 minus 82, which is going to be 98 degrees. If this is 36, this is 98, and this is 115, then this, we're going on a bit of a wild goose chase here, but 360 minus 115 minus 98 minus 36 is going to be 111. If this is 111, then this has to be 180 minus 111, which is going to be 69 degrees. So now I know that for this triangle here, I know that this is 65 degrees, I know this is 69 degrees, and this is y. So 180 minus 65 minus 69 should equal 46 degrees for y. So there's 6A. 6B, we have a bit of a star shape here. Okay, and we know that this is 36 degrees. Unfortunately, it's not a perfect star. That would just make it too easy. 35 degrees, 30 degrees, 31 degrees, and then we have to figure out this, which is x, and this, which is y, using just those bits of information that we have. Okay, using the pieces of information that we have, and using our information about transverse lines, as well as about some of these different things with polygons, we're going to work through and solve what we know and see where we can get with this particular question. So our very first step here would be to try to work with try to work with what we have, see what we can start to eliminate, or see what we can start to figure out here. One of the ways to help us to maybe visualize some of these is to extend some of these lines. Instead of thinking about them as stopping at certain places, if we can extend these lines, we can think about where some of these angles go beyond this. So if this is 31 degrees, okay, if this is 31, this is 31, that means that this exterior angle has to be 180 minus 31, which is going to be 149 degrees. This is going to be 149 degrees as well. Going a little bit further, if this is 30, this has to be 150. This is 30, this is 150. So we're again just plugging in what we know right now. This is 35, which means that 180 minus 35, that would give us 145. 145. This is 36. This would be 36. This would be 144 and 144. Okay. Now that we have those bits of information, let's see what else we can fill in about these questions as well. So knowing our some of our exterior angles here, this is going to help us in this question. So going through this, we're going to use the bits of information that we have here in order to solve for what's missing. Every time we have a shape here, we have an isosceles triangle. So if this is 31 degrees, these two angles are going to be the same. So 180 minus 31 is going to be 149. And when we split that in half, then we're able to figure out some of those interior angles there. Yeah. The other thing that we need to keep in mind is that all of these different points, when we bring all of those exterior angles together, they're going to all have to kind of fit in together as well. We have these triangles that are all making a particular shape that we're going to use some information about in order to solve later on as well. If this is 30, so let's add up the values that we have. 30 plus the 35 plus the 36 plus the 31. And we get a total of 132 degrees. And if we think about all of these kind of coming together at a particular point, this, and this point here, if we were to put all of those pieces together, they would actually create a straight line. So 180 degrees minus 132 is going to give us this missing point of this particular star, which is going to be 48 degrees. So y equals 48 degrees. Again, there's multiple ways you could go about solving this particular question, but this is just one of them in figuring out what that particular answer would be. Now this is an isosceles triangle. So if this is 48 degrees, this is x, but this also is going to be the same, x and x there. So if that is the case, and this is 48 degrees, then 180 minus 48 is going to give us, what those two x's together are going to equal, which is going to be 132 degrees. All I need left is divide that in 2 to figure out what each x is going to be, and that is going to be 66 degrees for each x value. So that gave us our x and our y value for that particular star. So there's a lot of working around. We started off by doing all of this. This is one way to do it. This is a much more complex way to do it. As I went through, we went through a much easier route instead. But you could go through this route as well. You could figure out some of this value, which would help you figure out this value, which would help you figure out this value. But it is definitely a much more complex route to go. This is a much easier route instead, which will give you to your answers to x and to y. Hopefully that helps make sense as you go through some of these practice questions.